Hello everybody, welcome to Dakman Productions and welcome to Conahey Rail. And today's video we'll be talking about the Legacy Powermaster. There was a lot of interest from viewers who watched my big unboxing where I announced that I found the Lionel Conrail award set, safety award set. And I had mentioned that the locomotive was conventional. And I was trying to run it on my traditional layout, which didn't work out too well because that's a scale size train, and I built my traditional layout for traditional trains, not to run scale stuff, but I tried and I failed. So the plan was to find a Legacy Powermaster and install it. And people were like, wow, that sounds like an idea that may be for me. So as I mentioned in that video, we're going to go over some things about this because viewers were interested. So what can you do with this? Well, you can make your pre-war, post-war, MPC era, even MTH trains run on Lionel remote controls, either TMCC or Legacy, using this. Now pay attention, because there's going to be some things that you're going to need to know, which I'll explain throughout the video. So please don't go out running and buying this after just watching this video for 5 minutes. Make sure this is what you're looking for and what you want. So there's two different versions of the Powermaster. There's an older version and a Legacy version. This is for those who want one, or think they're going to want one. Lionel stock number 6-37146. Okay, so we're going to read off the features. Works with all Lionel Legacy and TMCC control systems. Allows you to control conventional locomotives remotely. Control speed, direction, whistle, horn, and bell. Vary track power to fine-tune lighting, accessories, and command-equipped engines. Remotely restore power after shorts. Controls up to 180 watts of external power. Receive commands wirelessly. No serial cable required. Use one Legacy Powermaster per track loop to operate conventional locomotives independently. Control one or more powered accessories as a group. Split your yard into separate blocks with additional Powermasters. And so, first of all, I would like to thank a viewer who wrote very in-depth comment about the Powermaster that I'd like to read to everybody because I think it's important. So let me pre-warn you, I'm horrible with names. So this comment comes from Rob the Nunzi. Thank you very much for the in-depth comment you left on that video. So let's read what Rob has to say. When you get the Powermaster, you will see it has a switch on the side to run command or conventional. When you flip the switch to conventional, you program the Powermaster into your remote as you would a Legacy locomotive. This allows the track voltage to be controlled from the remote just as a transformer handle would. Rob has 4 power bricks, one for each block or loop, and he runs 4 Powermasters, so they are in pairs. When the Powermaster switches in command mode, Legacy and TMCC engines work as normal. When the switch is flipped to conventional mode, the remote controls each Powermaster separately, and I think it's through the aux key. So if he wants to run a conventional train on the outer loop, he flips the switch to conventional. The outer loop now has track voltage, changing to run conventional, and other 3 blocks are still Legacy. The loops are all connected, so he has to be careful not to cross over with the conventional engines, doesn't run off at his full throttle. The Powermaster was developed when the Cab 1 was introduced, and it was the way to get your conventional locomotives to run within remote. It can be hooked up to a ZW, but it does need Cab 1 or 2 with the Powermaster. It developed back when most locomotives were conventional, so Lionel was at the cutting edge. He believes the Powermaster also has a built-in circuit protection with an auto reset. And Lionel has a video called the Powermaster Instructional Video, and it's from 2011. So thank you very much, Rob, for all that. Before we continue, I do want to say this is not a standalone unit. So there are two components you need to go with this. You need a transformer of your choice. Since I'm going to be running legacy locomotives and as well as conventional, I'm going to stick with the Lionel Power Bricks. Also, well, that's their nickname, but the Lionel Powerhouse bricks, which are 180 watts. You could use a regular ZW transformer, but if you're running post-war, I always like to stick with modern transformers if I'm running modern locomotives like the ZWL, the MTH Z4000. And the other component you're going to need, which I know what people are going to say already, is because of the way the market is right now, is the Lionel Legacy 990 remote, which, yeah, we all know. They're hard to find. When you do find them, they're like $800 to $1,200 on the average. I've seen them as high as $1,500, $1,800 because Lionel is not making them anymore. And as they break, they are going to run out of parts. Keep that in mind. Sooner or later, Lionel's going to run out of parts. And when they're going to be useless later on in the future. So even though I'm saying that, I'm going to be keeping mine until it breaks. Also, you could get you could find a Lionel Cab 1, which is the TMCC, which would be cheaper, at a more reasonable price, which would work with this, even though this is legacy. Remember I said that the Cab 1 TMCC will work with this. Yes, it will. And I remember at one time you could find them for $50 to $75 new. Because of the situation with the Lionel Legacy 990, they're even up in price. So you're going to pay right around $200 to $250 for a Lionel Cab 1 TMCC remote. So if you already have those remotes and you're considering running conventional, then this is maybe an idea for you. So I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just giving you options. So what does this exactly do? So you need the remote, you need the transformer. All this does is regulates the power to the track. That's all this does. So as you throttle up the remote, it takes the power and applies power to the track. As you throttle the remote down, it reduces the voltage to the track. No different than if you're sitting there with the the handle on the transformer, as Rob said. And we'll take a closer look at this, but on the side you'll see there's a program run switch. Just like a locomotive, like Rob explained. This, you pretend it's a locomotive. You got to program this to your remote to make it work. So when you program this into your remote, let's say you make this I don't know if it's going to be accessory locomotive. I have to read instructions. But let's say I make this number 2. So I'll press number 2, and then I'll be able to apply a signal to this for power. So basically, this has to get programmed into the remote. So once I'm just like the locomotive, you press it to program, or slide it to program it in, slide it back to run, and you're set. Just like a locomotive. On the other end of it, though, you got to really pay attention. You got command and conventional, just like Rob said. And on the other end of it, we have to be careful also. There's a choice of 135 watt and 180 watt. Alright, so we're going to get this installed, and we'll check it out. Alright, so I mentioned that you could run your MTH Proto Sounds 2 and 3 locomotives using a Lionel remote. But hold on, don't go out running and buying one of these without listening to the rest of that story. So understand that yes, you can run the Protosound 2 and 3 MTH locomotives using the Powerhouse or Powermaster system. However, it's going to be no different than running it on conventional, meaning that you're not going to have access to all the functions that you would have if you used the DCS. So, from my understanding, all you're going to be able to do is to go forward, backwards, ring the bell, and ring the horn. I don't think you'll have the capabilities of getting into the cab chatter and the remote couplers and stuff like that using the Powermaster. Okay, I'm starting the installation of my Legacy Powermaster, and I should get this out for there's actual light. Sorry about this, everybody. And I was concerned about needing a cord because of this plug. However, the Lionel Powerhouse bricks already have that plug built into it. So if you have a Lionel Powerhouse brick, it's easy. You just take this, already has the plug built into the transformer, and you simply plug it in. Bada boom, bada bang. Now, if you don't have a Lionel Powerhouse 180 watt brick, don't worry. I mean, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can use your existing transformer. You just need to buy the cable adapter, which can be bought at Hennings. I know Hennings Trainz has them. I've seen them. So you can buy the adapter and just wire it up to your ZW if you want to use that for your older trains. And I have it properly set on 180 watt. So for 180 watt, the switch should be down, which it is. And all I got to do now is hook up my outside track wire and my middle rail track wire, program it in, and I'm done. And we'll go through the programming process too. Okay, so this doesn't exactly work how I thought it did. So it took me a little bit to figure it out. Even with the help of the Lionel Instructional video, it really wasn't much help because they were using the old Lionel TMCC Cab 1 remote, and I'm using a Legacy. But I finally figured it out by playing around with it. Who needs instructions? Just throw them away. No, don't do that. The instructions were helpful to a certain point, but... So here's what's going on. I got it all hooked up. Notice I didn't put it away until the testing was done. So what I have done here is I have, as per Lionel instructions, he said, and I'm hoping that you can see this. Let me focus in some more on this thing here. Jeez, I'm in a dark area. Sorry about this. Okay, there we go. That's better. So I got my red wire hooked to A and my black wire hooked to U. I ran a separate wire off the U to my Lionel base, which they recommended doing. And so that's what I did. So there you go. Simple wiring. I used a 2-wire wire here, a 2-wire cable. Lionel also says make sure that you use 16 gauge wire to do this with. And for those of you who are not familiar with electrical, that would say, oh, I got 18 gauge wire. I'm in luck. It's bigger than 16. And that would be absolutely incorrect. Wrong. So in the world of wiring, the higher the number, the smaller in diameter it is, and the less strands of wire is inside of it. So 18 gauge is actually smaller than 16. It actually works backwards. So 14 gauge would be bigger than 16 gauge. And so forth and so on. So For those who are not familiar with wiring, I hope that helps you out. Also, on another note, the bigger you go, it turns into alt. And I know people are like scratching their head, what is an alt? Well, I'll give you a little background story. So, a few years ago in my shop, we hired a newbie, a trainee, and he's trying to put a 2-gauge terminal end onto a battery cable. So he's like, I don't understand why it doesn't fit. I says, okay, what does it say on the terminal end? He goes, 2-gauge. I said, alright, let me teach you something. You're trying to put a 2-gauge wire end on a 2-aught cable. And he looks at me like I got 2 heads. He goes, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm telling you, well, let me tell you in a different way. There's a difference between gauge and aught. Gauge of wire is much smaller than aught measurement of cable. It turns from, notice I said cable, because once you get to aught, now you're getting to cable instead of wiring, because it's so big. And he's like, well, I never heard of an alt. And I had to explain to him what an alt was. And he said, he was like, how do you even spell that? Is that even a word? I'm like, yes, alt is a real word. It's a measurement of wire cable, which is much bigger than just regular wiring. But that's a shop story. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. All right, so here's what's going on. I thought, and those who have these can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought by switching this from conventional to command, it would automatically supply power. In a way it does, in a way it doesn't. So it was not really explained to me in the instructions very well. So right now, if you look over here, I'll focus in on my CNJ card because I actually wired this for the inside track. So I got this in conventional mode. So if I take my thumb wheel here, okay, and I spin my thumb wheel, you'll see the lighting come on. So that's conventional mode. So that's how it works through the remote, through the thumb wheel. Let me focus that out. And I give it less, it's going to turn the lights out. More. And you'll see that the lights are on as I spin the wheel on, spin the wheel off. Okay, so that much was easy to figure out. The hard part was, okay, when I put it into command mode, which it is in now, and we focus on that, as I'm moving this to give it juice or voltage, nothing happens. I don't have no power juice, no constant juice, no nothing. That's because I finally figured out I'm going to put it back into conventional mode. Then I'm going to turn it on to full voltage and conventional mode. And then you turn it into, or turn it on to command mode. Now, no matter what I do, I got full voltage. So that's how it really works. Okay, and so now the only time I'm going to control the voltage is by putting it back into conventional. So right now, since I turned the voltage all the way up in conventional, and then I went ahead and turned it into command mode, now it stays at that full voltage. Now I can see an advantage to that. Let's say I have a voltmeter hooked into my track, which I don't yet. I was planning on doing that. But let's say I hooked in voltmeters, and I don't want full 18 volts. So now I can give my track 14.4 volts if I want to, with the precision of the Powermaster. Or 15 volts, or 13 volts, or 11 volts. So now I can pretty much have whatever voltage I want going to the track and lock it in at that voltage when I put it into command control. So that's cool. I like that part of it. So I hope this helps out other people who were considering doing this or having this as an option. Alright, so we're going to, and if I didn't explain right, I'm not the best person for explaining things by far, but I hope that made sense. And now I'm at the point where I can put stuff away. Also, I use basic testing equipment. You don't need to buy a $400 or $500 fluke meter to do basic electrical troubleshooting on your layout. So even though I have, you know, about $1,000 worth of fluke stuff at my work job, because it is required there for the amount of, you know, the high tech that the trucks have gotten into, all you need is a basic voltage reader. So you know you have voltage, that's all. That's what I use here at home. Just a $10 tester. I also like buying 2-wire. Makes my job easier. You can see how it's got the black and the red already on there. They sell wire like that up to 4-wire, 7-wire, however you want. I bought mine on Amazon. And remember, the gauge of wire is supposed to be 16 gauge for this project. Now, if you're doing this on the Lionel Legacy 990, which is what I'm doing, I did this through the engine. So I got it programmed, and again, I'm in the dark. So I went into engine. You can do engine or train, but they recommend trying to do it with, it depends on the version of your remote. If you have an earlier version, you can do engine. If you got a later version, you got to do train, which is that TR. But I did engine. So my remote is programmed to engine number 2. And I did 2 because all your Lionel locomotives that come from the factory are programmed to 1 by default. So I didn't want to have 1 on there. So now I press engine 2, hit aux. Now after doing that, I have full control of my Lionel Powermaster because that's what I have it programmed to. So basically, for this demonstration, I have it programmed like a locomotive. Now once again, the Lionel instructional video was helpful up to a certain point, but they are using a Lionel TMCC Cab 1 controller in the instructional video. So if you want to use the Lionel TMCC remote, I'll put a link in the description of this video to the Lionel instructional video. Okay, so a little side note edit here. So parking my CNJ train so I get my conventional set out. I noticed that I tripped the breaker, and when I reset the breaker, in default, it will not stay locked into command mode. So then you gotta set everything up again, which is a pain in the butt. So you gotta slide the side switch back into conventional, hit number 2 on my remote because that's what I programmed the Powermaster in. Give it full power, lock it back into command mode. I'm guessing I'm using it right and I got it set up right, but if you guys seen I set something up wrong, just let me know. But right now it's working as it is. Every time the breaker trips, you would think that would stay locked in command mode when a breaker trips, but it doesn't. Alright, so let me get the Conrail safety set out and finally give that a run. Okay, I got the Conrail safety set on the track, as many of you would remember from my last video. The SD70 Mac that's in the set is totally conventional. There is no TMCC, no Legacy, nothing's in there. And so the Powermaster gives me the option to run conventional Trainz on this layout. And I know people are going to say, oh, you did all this work and expense just for one set. No, I got a whole bunch of MPC era stuff that now I have the ability to run on this layout. So let's go ahead and stretch the legs out on this Conrail safety set, finally. Okay, so the functions for forward and reverse work just the same as if we were using a Legacy locomotive. So if you want to change direction, you're just going to simply press this button down. And that activates the, well, this one's going to have an electronic E-unit, or even if it had a mechanical E-unit, by pressing down the directional button will activate the electronic E-unit or mechanical E-unit in a conventional locomotive. And there's also the bell. If it had bell and if it had a horn, you would be able to use the same button for the Legacy. So what kind of rating do I give the Powermaster? I give it 2 thumbs up. For me and my application for my layout, it was a very easy install because I already had the key ingredients that are needed to make this thing work easily. I already had the Lionel Powerhouse 180 watt brick that had the correct connection on it. I already had the Lionel 990 remote. And I was good to go in a few minutes once I got it all wired up. And the wiring wasn't that bad either. It may be a little bit different for those of you who want to use the TMCC and a different transformer. It was a lot of fun working this, and this is not the only conventional set I have, as I mentioned. I also have the Lionel 1987 Conrail Limited set that's totally conventional, and that is also, well, it's standard O. It's still scale. Standard O just doesn't have all the details that regular scale O gauge would have. But it's a neat set, and that's another set I can run here instead of on a traditional layout. And of course, any of my MPC era trains I can run over here if I want to run them in a more detailed environment. So this gives me plenty of options, and maybe options for you. I don't know. You can be the judge of that for yourself, if that's a right fit for you. I had a ton of fun with it, I'm not going to lie. I had plenty of playtime with it, more playtime with it than I'm showing on this video. But at any rate, catch you guys later, and we'll catch you trackside. Goodbye.